Hello everybody and welcome to Crit D&D. The last time we left off, our party had begun their journey from the city of Timber Falls to Fallfield, the capital city of the Grassbend region. With the Princess Amelia Ramont and her bodyguard Germaine Verhult, they made their way across the dry grassland hills. They had been hired to travel with the princess as a projection of strength and security for the journey. Leaving the town of Fallfield with a horse and a cart, the party followed the princess in her carriage across the region. Keeping up with our party on their travels, we see them traveling across the road of the Grassband region through the gently rolling hills of tall, dry, but sunburnt grass, shifting gently in the breeze around this lonely road on which they travel, with sparse trees dotting the landscape like islands in a sea of golden waves, growing in stark contrast to the bright blue sky above them. With X managing the reins with serenity, much of the party is able to take in the sights, enjoy a warm summer's day on the savannah. Over the course of the day, however, Sudi spent much of her time collecting stray rocks and stones along the road, enjoying throwing them from the back of the cart into the grass and onto the road behind them. To the group's concern, these small rocks then seemed to skitter their way off to the sides of the road and into the protection of the tall grass around it. As the night began to fall, the party shared a meal with the princess and her bodyguard Germaine, who, from this meal on, they would never call Germaine again, instead referring to him as literally any other name that starts with a G. As the party learned more information about the princess in turn learned more about each of them in a game of secrets, where the party was able to ask her any one question per person, if she could ask one in return. In time, the party settled down for the night, taking watch one at a time over the course of the evening. With little issue over the restful night, the party was left dealing with only their dreams. For those of you that are new to the channel and new to the Ravion campaign, what I like to do for my players, especially towards the beginning of the campaign, was dream sequences, where everyone got a little bit more information on their backstory and deals with their goals and everything within the world. So, that will be what we tackle right now, starting with Flawed. As you find sleep for the evening leaning up against a tree, your eyes close out the light of the flickering bonfire at the center of your camp. With that lack of firelight, you find yourself in the darkness of your dreams, a deep and unending void of pitch, within which you float free and weightless. This void is cold and getting colder with each moment. Soon enough, you can see your breath before your nose and a noise gets your attention from somewhere in the darkness. "Where are you?" says a broken woman's voice as a massive woman's face presses in closer and closer from the darkness. This face's skin is a sickening gray-purple color, like that of a rotting corpse, with snow-blind eyes staring out into the darkness as she searches for something. Broken yellow teeth sit jaggedly within a slightly slackened jaw as this woman peers through the darkness, looking almost through you as you float before her. Make a wisdom saving throw. Unfortunately, I believe he failed. The woman's lips are moving, but he cannot make out what she is saying as she continues to search. "Where are you?" the woman's voice says again, louder than before. Once again, the group of hands takes you, and you feel your horn break with a sickening crack as your arm is wrenched from your socket. These, however, are the only things you specifically register as you are torn to pieces by the hands that grip you. You sit up, panting in a cold sweat, back in your campsite, comforted by the flickering firelight of a familiar bonfire. Next we'll do Jade. As you find yourself curled under a blanket against the cool evening air, your dreams come to you, gently curling into your sleeping consciousness like a gentle smoke. Soon enough, you find yourself sitting beneath a familiar green tree, with the same bamboo wind chime gently clinking in the soft breeze. As you stand once again and make your way down the familiar dirt path, you find the same unmarked pedestals. As you enter the protected grove, you hear the creaking of the large bamboo that encircles the grove and the rustling of their leaves in the breeze. As you stand at the entrance to the grove, you are met with the same sights as before: the ruined house, the glass-lined surface of the pond, and the carved stone lantern, as the breeze blows a small collection of sparks out of the lantern and towards the house. Following them as you travel through the air, you find the woman standing on the porch of the house waiting for you with a slight smile, wide-brimmed hat still obscuring her features otherwise. "Hello. I am Chiratsuki. but you can call me Suki for short. I assume you have a few questions. From here, Jade and Suki spoke about the history of the Chiratsuki people and how Jade herself is one of these people. Suki is a light quarry spirit that fled to the material plane to escape the dreaming dark. To survive, she has connected herself to mortals on the material plane, living alongside them and trying to build a safe community for her chosen people, guiding them to safety in cooperation. She accomplished this long ago, but in a tragic event, her people were discovered and culled, with only a handful of them surviving a genocide that left only a few remaining. Even to this day, there are as many as only 14 left, with one of them being Jade. The pedestals on the path are places for the other Chiratsuki people that Jade has yet to find. Suki has vowed to counsel Jade and to help her learn to protect herself, as well as save her people from the dangers of this world, in turn, saving Suki. Alright, now we'll move on to Lemba. As you lay down to sleep, you find yourself staring up at the moon and thinking back to the dream that you had in Timber Falls. The memory of the split moon standing in stark contrast to the bright moon that you stare up at now through the boughs of a tree. Soon enough, though, you find sleep and a new dream comes to you. As it does, you find yourself floating in a dark, unending void, and it feels as though you are submerged within a sea of dark water. The need for air presses in on your thoughts, and you begin to swim upwards toward the surface, seeing firelight flickering across the dark waves above you. Reaching the surface, you find yourself inside a circle of massive stone braziers that stretch up to the sky 30, maybe 40 feet above the waves. And they stretch deep below the waves as well as you look beneath, out of sight through the dark. These braziers are lit, and their blaze roars in the darkness, all 15 raging in this deep, flickering crackle. Slowly, there's a shift in the light above you. The moon sits in the sky, up in the void, above this dark iron anvil. Slowly, you see these 2 pinpricks of burning red light open, impossibly wide, far apart, and high up in the air like some giant among giants. And slowly the moon begins to fall from the sky, getting larger and larger, as if it's going to hit you. But somehow it makes itself fit, sitting on the anvil itself, as the waves churn around you and a massive hammer is lifted from deep beneath the waves and raised high out of sight, before suddenly slamming back down on the moon as 2 women's screams echo out in fear and pain before the moon cracks and sloughs off to both sides into the water, sending waves all around you. With that sickening crack, you do see one bright blue light that was at the center of this moon, slowly shimmering in the dark above the anvil, floating free before the brazier behind you goes out. This blue light continues to shine, just vibrant against the void. And you don't hear the screaming anymore. It's almost like something new has come from this. And that last shining blue light is the last thing that you see before you wake up in your camp once more. Now on to Serenity. As you close your eyes to sleep for the night, comforted by the firelight flickering at the center of your camp and the sounds of crickets gently singing in the grasses around you, the gentle sounds of the savannah at night are gradually replaced by the sounds of softly crashing waves, and as you open your eyes, you find yourself on a familiar black sand beach. Sitting up, the sand sticks into your hair and against your cheek. Brushing it off, you see a set of bare footprints leading down the beach. Following them with your eyes, you see your father slowly walking down the beach away from you, his hair catching the sea breeze as he walks. As he slowly turns and looks over his shoulder, he calls back to you, "My dear, you have everything you need. Just follow in my footsteps." As you stand to chase after him, No matter how hard you run, you aren't ever able to catch up to him. He's always just ahead of you on the beach. And as a wave crashes against the shore, splashing you with seawater, you squeeze your eyes shut against it. When you open them, you find that your father is gone. Looking down, you see odd tracings in the sand. A shape, intershapes, many shapes put together in some sort of an odd design. This mandala of a circle with the center, a teardrop-shaped gemstone figure. You grip the gemstone around your neck absent-mindedly and feel a pulse, like a gentle, almost imperceivable heartbeat just before you wake up. The sounds of the savannah night returning to replace the beach of your dreams. Now we move on to Sudi. Sitting in the camp, you think of home, remembering the cool desert coastline nights you came to love. Thinking of them as you fall asleep, you find yourself surrounded by innumerable red silks. This sea of red fabric is tight around you, blocking all vision in a sea of color and movement. Light and shadows dance wildly across each surface as you struggle against this billowing cloth. You see a figure shifting in and out of the silks just out of your view, and you push towards them through these silks, losing them in the waves of red cloth. Looking around, that you find that you're alone once again, before you see from deep within the silks, two burning pinprick eyes blink into existence, the familiar eyes of your goddess. And as you take a step towards her, you watch as the eyes shift, and faster than you can blink, she glitches towards you through the silks until there is but one layer between the two of you. You failed. Let this be your punishment, she says before backing into the silks and disappearing. This hot, burning sensation in your gut as you look down and feel the wet blood pool around your clothing as you clutch a dagger embedded deep within your gut, blood seeping from the wound. At this point, you wake up. And the burning is there, but faint, and as you touch the place where the dagger had been, you do feel just a tiny bit of blood and the remnants of an old wound slowly healing. Alright, and now we move on to X. As you drift off to sleep, staring at the flickering flames of the campfire, you find a certain comfort in their warmth. This warmth holds you tight as you curl deeper into your blanket, finding rest. The warmth seems to follow you into your dreams as you find yourself in your childhood home. The comforting space of your mother's study reassures you. Her desk is pushed up against the wall with a large candle slowly dripping away into a brass catching dish. The numerous bookshelves lining the walls of the room hold dusty old tomes containing countless texts and secrets that you've never had a chance to read. You are much closer to the ground than you should be, almost childlike in size. Across the room, a black dragonborn woman, your mother, is standing at one of her bookshelves, searching for a book before retrieving it and returning to her desk. Looking over something, she begins to write something down, transcribing from within the book that she collected, before making a almost fervent scribbling motion. And this scribbling motion becomes more and more intense, and her focus even more intense on almost maniacally tracing out the same shape over and over and over. You take a step forward to see what she's working on, seeing the fervent tracing that she makes of a teardrop-shaped gemstone in rough lines of ink. Suddenly, your mother grabs you by the shoulders, and with an almost crazed look in her eyes, stares deep at you and into your soul, before you awake with a jolt, still staring into the fire with your mother's voice similarly ringing in your ears. Shift your scales, shift your goals. You can be more than you would ever know. Continuing on, as the party wakes up on the second day of this journey, they watch the clouds shift over the grassland and the gentle creaking of their carts as they work their way up the road. The shifting of the grass just barely obscures a minotaur that the party spots as it makes its way off further in the evening towards the setting sun, away from them, as it seemingly has its own goals. Slowly may they make their way towards another large stand of trees, split by the road, and as they make their way within, they find comfort in the shade after the long hot day. Just before they reached this place, though, they were suddenly ambushed by a hunting party of gnolls, flanked by their hyena companions. Although, a quick dispatching of this ambushing gnoll party, they were, unfortunately, fairly well wounded, and the caravan limped their way to an early rest within this protection of trees, the princess suffering from a mysterious pinprick wound that she received during the fight. The party as a whole took the time to keep watch over their wounded and treat their injuries carefully to recover from the battle, slowly finding a rest in the evening, keeping watch once again. That does it for this session of the Ravian campaign. For my players is the regular secret code. As always, work together to solve the puzzle. Best of luck to you all. But for everyone, thank you all for tuning into this episode of Ocrit D&D's Ravian campaign. For more information on the world, you can check out the World of Ravian setting playlist. And for additional episodes following our intrepid adventurers, tune in for more videos of the Ravian campaign storyline. Remember, it just doesn't take that much to make a difference. Thank you.